All right, good afternoon. I'd like to open the February 23rd, 2023 edition of the El Dorado Planning Commission. Mr. Rickard, would you initiate a roll call, please?
Yes, Chairman. Commissioner Fellers.
Present.
Commissioner Fischetti.
Here.
Commissioner Hackler.
Here.
Commissioner Hughes. Absent. Commissioner Leeson.
Here.
Commissioner Long.
Here.
Commissioner Nichols. Absent. Chairman Stewart.
Here.
And Commissioner Watson.
Here.
All right, we have quorum.
We have an extra quorum. I'm
We're
impressed.
looking good tonight.
Yeah. All right, regarding the minutes from our October 27th, 2022 meeting, you've all had a chance to review the minutes. Any adjustments or corrections for us to consider? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve those minutes, please.
I'd make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Second. Okay, we have a motion in 12 seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Minutes are approved. Item 3, new business.
Yes, Commission, we have 4 items on the agenda tonight, so pretty healthy lineup. The first one is going to be a zone change application for Southeast 20th Street and Southeast Teeter Road. This property is owned by Mr. Brett Moore. He's submitted this rezoning application. The property is located in our ETJ, so outside of the city limits, but within our zoning territorial jurisdiction. Mr. Moore is looking to rezone 68.4 acres at in the southwest quadrant of 20th Street and Southeast Teeter Road. Currently today, that is zoned AR, so Agricultural Residential District. The request is to rezone the properties you see there in yellow to RS, Residential Suburban. What that does is the current AR zoning requires a minimum lot size of 40 acres. The residential suburban zoning allows it to be split into smaller parcels. A lot of that has to depend on water, sewer infrastructure, how that's handled. Mr. Moore is proposing to split 2 of these lots into 20-acre parcels, and then also have 4 7-acre lots along Teeter. The 20-acre parcels will be on Southeast 20th. So I apologize, I jumped one there.
Okay, and is it safe to presume that since this is initially a single contiguous piece of property that these multiple subdivisions can be managed in one case, one hearing here?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. This was heard before the Butler County Commission in December. Unfortunately, the applicant was not aware, made aware of the meeting time, and was not able to attend. County Commission voted to deny it. Reasoning was the township roads, concern over the township roads. And if you've read that in your memo, the applicant has since gone. He asked us to delay this in January and push it to tonight's meeting. He's since gone to the Prospect Township and received a recommendation that they're for this project.
Okay.
It generates more tax base for the tax district.
Did they then go back to the county's planning commission?
No, so the steps in that, the county recommended denial. So you as a planning commission must vote a supermajority for it to proceed.
Okay.
So that would be a supermajority of the quorum here tonight, at minimum 6 planning commissioners. So to proceed on to the city commission, it would need to be 6. This kind of, as outlined in the memo, you see falls within a lot of kind of the uses as you see, as you get close to urban districts, smaller lots, housing of that nature. So the applicant is here if you have any questions, and then the public hearing, hold the public hearing as well.
Okay. The applicant like to add anything to the presentation request before their public hearing?
Yeah.
Okay. Please come forward. If you'd state your name and address for the record, please.
My name's Brett Moore, 1827 Southeast 20th. And I just have the letter here, which Scott was saying from the township with the signatures of the trustee, the treasurer, and the clerk, that they are in favor or approve for me to be able to split these lots, that it would generate more revenue, and that basically they're already maintaining these streets anyway, so they didn't see any issues with it.
Okay. Anything else before we open the public hearing then?
There was one thing they brought up in the county commission meeting. You see that on 20th, there's this kind of panhandle coming in between the corner property where I live and then the outlying property in yellow.
Yeah.
And they had said I was going to add properties in the back, and that was going to be a road, which was incorrect. I just wanted to clarify that. I would keep the remaining property, and that's just so I have access to get back there.
Okay. All right. Anything else before we open the public hearing then?
Nope.
You'll have an opportunity if we have any additional questions following the public hearing. We'll,
Thank you.
thank you. All right, at this time, we will open the public hearing. Anyone here to address this case tonight, please come forward and if you would state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Heather Reed. I'm at 2158 Southeast here.
Okay.
So I can attest not only for myself, but for the Kiefers that live on Teeter as well. None of us are ecstatic about having residential lots on this property. We all moved out there to be in the country, not to have multiple houses put on top of us. I do have 2 small children that like to ride their bikes up and down when they can, when we don't have massive amounts of traffic coming up and down. You know, I do have a small farm started on my piece, and we're really afraid that having all this extra traffic is going to not only up our tax value for our property, but also endanger possibly any of our livestock or hunting grounds even. So.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your address. Where do you live?
2158 Southeast Teeter.
Could you point that out on that
Yeah.
map, big map over there? So
Right,
it's-
so-
just point it out to us.
You don't plan on putting meters on before you sell?
No, I don't plan on putting them on until I can get the splits, because I'll have to pay for each meter study for each lot. So around $3,500 each times 5.
Yeah.
So I don't want to spend that money until I know it's going to be split, and then I'm not just throwing it away, you know.
Scott, I got a question for you. Let's say we approve this splitting up, and then the rural water district comes in and says, we don't have the meters, you can't have it. What happens then to the property?
Just like Chairman Stewart mentioned, it's his risk or the future owner's risk. There is no guarantee of water. That's a risk, anyone takes. I mean, just because at my house, I'm a water customer of the city of El Dorado, if something happened, there's no guarantee, there's nothing in writing that I'm guaranteed water.
There's a 2-inch line on 20th that runs past Teeter to the east, and then a 2-inch line on Teeter that runs down Teeter towards the airport. And right now there's 4 houses on that 2-inch line. So.
It's not too uncommon, in zoning cases to understand, can I even do with the land what I think I want to do? And go through that process. You guys have seen a number of cases similar. It may just not be about water, it may be something else, but can I do what I think I want to do? And then go through those processes to get approval and then keep moving along.
Yeah, and I think it's important to appreciate that we're not conducting a full-scale site plan review or development review tonight. We're still focused on land use. Is the land use appropriate and acceptable? Is the land use not appropriate or not acceptable? Ultimately, that's what our decision and recommendation, I should say, boils down to as we advise the city commission through our process.
Yeah, can these 2 large parcels be split and have potential different owners in the future? It's a smaller acreage. And that acreage cannot be less than 6 acres in the RS. There's 6 point something, it's in your pamphlet, but in the RS.
And I have had Godecki already draw these out, and there's a formula, it can't be longer than 4 times its width. He's got that all drawn out and presented.
Yeah, and we have that information.
I don't have anything else if no one else has questions.
I think, thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
Thanks.
A couple of elements of risk management by Ms. Reed and the neighbor to the west. Forget that name. But the first one mentioned by Ms. Reed was hunting and poaching, obviously illegal hunting, etc. It's remarkably disappointing, unfortunately not surprising to hear that poaching and illegal dumping of carcasses, etc., would occur in that way. And while I do think the traffic would likely have an impact on Ms. Reed's property, I think the 7-acre parcels there and additional residential might actually bolster an argument that illegal hunting activity might be reduced instead of increased. Don't know that compels me one way or the other to make a decision, but more eyeballs potential eyeballs along that street would seem to suggest that maybe poachers would be less inclined to conduct their activity there. As far as the pasture burning and the additional risk and liability, again, I think it's already parceled out as 40 acres. Whether it's whether it's pasture that continues to burn, the liability is there for that adjacent landowner, and their management of their pasture burning, in my opinion, is no less critical because of 2 20-acre lots as opposed to a single 40-acre lot. But it's worth paying attention to. Other thoughts, concerns?
I do hear what you're saying, and the only concern for me in this is I don't have a dog in that fight, is the water. I think that's the rural water district saying we can do it or we can't, and that's not for us to decide.
Correct.
So therefore, I will be voting for this.
I can see some problems, and I appreciate the concern of the neighbors, but I will also vote for it because I think our job is to promote land use, and I think it's a good use of the land, and I think it's going to increase property value in Texas, so I support it.
Other thoughts, reactions? Okay. Well, I would entertain a motion.
I move to recommend approval of case number 23-01 REZ, an application by Brett Moore to rezone 68.4 acres at the southwest corner of Southeast 20th Street and Southeast Teeter Road from AR Agriculture Residential District to RS Residential Suburban District for reasons stated in the staff recommendation and heard at this public hearing.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. A reminder, you said it would be 6 of 7 in order to move any recommendation forward.
Correct.
Okay. Mr. Rickard, if we could get a roll call vote, please.
Yes. Commissioner Fellows.
Yes.
Commissioner Fischetti.
Yes.
Commissioner Hackler.
Yes.
Commissioner Leeson.
No.
Commissioner Long.
Yes.
Chairman Stewart.
Yes.
Chairman Watson.
Yes.
Motion passed. Recommendation of approval will go on to the city commission. That meeting will be the third Monday in April. Or March, sorry.
Third Monday. So, Ms. Reed, Mr. Moore, the third Monday in March,
5:30.
this case will be in front of the city commission for their review and decision. Okay?
Did we get Mr. Moore back in the sheet, wherever it is?
I think
It's right here.
I did not have that. I'm sure he would like that. All right, next item is case number 23-01-plat, consideration of the final plat of Kinder Second Edition.
Yes, Commission, you've done some zoning work out in this neighborhood. Before you tonight is the official plat for Kinder Second Edition. And everything meets our regulations. So we're asking you to make a motion this evening to accept the plat as presented. And then the next phase would go on to the city commission for approval of any easements on city, inside city limits. The majority of this is outside of the city limits.
Okay. Mr. Cutzinger, would you present the request on behalf of your?
Yes, Roger Cutzinger with Savoy Company. I'm representing the Kinders in this case. And we have Tom Kinder and his daughter Casey and his son Cody are all the 3 lots that we're showing here, as well as an extension of Kinder Drive, which is the Kinder First Edition. So we'll be extending that up and dedicating that right away as well.
Okay. And I'm trying to remember, obviously, the preliminary plat came with the public hearing and,
This was a simple
And-
plat, so
and all of
there's
that.
no public hearing involved with platting, just in zoning cases.
just the zoning, okay?
And this is, simple plats in nature, we're allowed to just proceed with final
Sure.
plat.
Roger, just one quick question. You are showing a road extending in front of, going down Kendra's Drive, right?
Right.
That could potentially open up the other land that's back behind there.
Yes, if something to the north or west are developed, I suppose they can tie into that.
Okay?
And I did talk to the owner of the township about if they had to build a road up there at this time. Cody's not in a big hurry to build his house, but he's wanting to get one built on that north lot. And they said at this time he could just put a driveway in where the road now stops up to his house. They didn't see a reason to build a road for one person at this time.
Would that make it a public road, or is it
Yeah,
private?
it would be a public road if dedicated on the plat.
Yeah, it's public
Okay.
right away.
So like the school could drive down that road and access their property they have directly there to the north?
Yes, they have, yes, I even showed on the drawing a strip of land there that the school has.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's a 60-foot right away, 60 foot wide?
60, I believe, yes, city,
60.
standard city street.
Okay. And all of this is in the city of El
No,
Dorado?
it is not.
I thought it was county,
It's
okay,
not.
okay.
The city-
You've got USD 490 to the north of those land, that is in the city
That is
limits.
in the city.
And then you've got this chunk in between, which is part of this plat that is not. And then you have Kendra's first edition, which all of that is in the city limits.
Okay. And of course, railroad right-of-way
Yeah.
directly east. Okay. Any questions for Mr. Cutsinger? Okay. Thank you, Roger. All right, questions, concerns?
Well, it's a great project. It's got potential to open up a lot of land that's locked up over there down the road, 10, 20 years for housing, hopefully sooner.
Agreed. Okay, without further comment, I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve the final plat of the Kinder second edition as presented.
Yeah, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Rickard, would you initiate a roll call vote, please?
Yeah, Commissioner Pellers,
Yes.
Commissioner Fischetti,
Yes.
Commissioner Hackler,
Yes.
Commissioner Leeson,
Yes.
Commissioner Long,
Yes,
Chairman Stewart,
Yes?
Commissioner Watson.
Yes.
The plat is accepted.
Motion carries 7-0. Thank you.
And that goes to commission the first Monday in March.
The third Monday.
Third Monday.
Yep.
And Scott, do you want to keep that on?
Yeah, I'll keep that for you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item 3, case number 23-01-SUP, public hearing for the consideration of a request for a special use permit for an accessory structure at 522 West 5th Avenue. Mr. Rickard.
Yes, this is AGN Development, which you have met before, is the folks that are building the assisted living facility on the old Lincoln School site. So just south of 6th Avenue, north of 5th, and west of Taylor. Building permit's been pulled on phase 1, their first building. That's under construction today and progressing well from what our building official has seen. The owner of the property, the owner of Adult Development, is requesting a special use permit to allow a 2,400 square foot accessory structure. That would be located in the very top northwest corner of the shaded R3 property you see there. His use of that structure will be for storage of equipment, furnishings for the buildings, things of that nature. And so, as some of you may recall, anything up over 1,500 square feet in area within a residential district needs a special use permit. So 2,400 square feet triggered the request for a special use permit.
Haven't they already got the foundation setting already done for this building?
No, that's for the actual facility. You can see here the gray right there. If you can see, make out my cursor at all, that is the building that's under construction today. This is phase 2, another building here.
Those are already under permit, though, and
Yeah.
within conformance. This consideration tonight is just that shop building to the north.
Yeah, just
to the
this
northwest.
area up here, right tucked up against 6th Avenue, which, you know, you have commercial, industrial type uses to the north across 6.
Right there by the water tower.
Right there by the water tower. Staff has no concerns with the location or the use.
Is there going to be a paved road to that building, or how they going to gravel road or
They will have to
grass?
pave, they'll have to have paved access.
Okay.
Correct.
Notifications were sent out?
Yes.
Okay. All right, well, let's open the public hearing. At this time, anyone from the public who would wish to address the Planning Commission on this matter, please come forward. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Clint R., 2155 Road 70, Redding, Kansas. I'm the owner of Sunflower Care Homes and also the general contractor that pulled the permit for this construction. So, Commissioner, you had said, is that foundation already there? The screen, I had a pad built but didn't go any further until I applied for the special use permit. I had excavators on site, they were ready to do some more work, so I went ahead and had some screenings put down. So no foundation, no concrete, nothing else, just basically built the pad to determine what size of building we're gonna put on there. So, like Scott said, we've began construction on the first assisted living building. We're working on underground right now. Footings are poured, hopefully be pouring the slab in the next week or so. The reason that we're building this accessory structure and would like a little more square footage is it will be used for multiple uses with the first building and our future development of several buildings on this lot. If you recall last year when I spoke, like Mr. Richter said, we have a second building proposed. Once the first one's built and operating, we'll probably begin planning on the second building. We hope to develop the entire 4.5 acres into all senior living opportunities. These first two are assisted living type buildings. We plan on putting either duplexes or independent living for seniors and possibly any accessory type of the accessory type of building would supplement all these future development. So that's another reason for an additional request for a larger size. The type of things that would be in this building would be yard maintenance items, mowers, yard equipment. We have furniture that we store in the storage buildings at my other locations. The residents are continually changing the needs that they have, so they may have beds that need to be put in storage because hospital beds come in. Hospice comes in, brings special lifts, wheelchairs, walkers, things like that. So we need additional storage for personal items of the residents that we provide services for. Also, this particular building has a licensed daycare on site that's part of this original building. So we have outside play equipment that in the wintertime we would like to store under a roof somewhere so it doesn't weather and deteriorate. And and then outside patio furniture for our residents. We have patio furniture with cushions and things. So we need a considerable amount of storage area that is not contained within the building where we live. Storing off, like chemicals, ladders, things like that, it's always best for the state fire marshal not to have those in the building where we have residents that live there. We purposely put this building on the furthest north of the property that we could. This was calculated because it's an arterial street, 6th Avenue. It's in the shadow of a very large water tower, which is right next door, and there's other metal buildings across the street and within 6th Avenue. So we believe it's more of a conforming use being on that property boundary. So that's the reasoning behind asking for the opportunity to have a special use permit for a larger size.
Okay, thank you.
Question real quick.
Yes, sir.
You had stated earlier that in your acreage there that the future outlook is to populate it with structures throughout the entire property.
Correct.
I know 40 by 60 sounds like a lot to some people, but 40 by 60 will get filled real darn quick. And do you think that there'll be a situation with that many other structures on property that you may end up having to request to build a second?
At this time, no.
Are you asking, should they build a bigger one?
Well, I'm just saying,
Additional
for future
structures.
use, right now, that's plenty of storage for one building or two, but it's going to get eat up pretty quick with lawn
It does.
equipment and
So
storing
I
furniture.
own four of these type of facilities currently, 2 in Emporia, Kansas, 2 in Baldwin City, Kansas. And I own 3 shops in Emporia, and they're all full. You know, not of all just the assisted living, but I understand how quickly things can fill up. I built a 30 by 40 in Emporia, Kansas, and it wasn't nearly big enough. And so that's why with the 30 by 40, it supplies storage for 2 of these, which is what I'm proposing 2 of this. So that's why I'm reasonably requesting the additional to the 2,400 square foot for that future supply and demand of more furniture, more residents, equipment, things like that. So I do believe a 40 by 60 for the proposed continued development would be enough. Yes.
Thank you.
This building would go up immediately then?
Yes, one of the concerns that the city had is I wanted to put the building up first, but they wanted to assure I was committed to the development of the rest of it because honestly, they said they've been burnt other times where people said they put a building up first and then a structure, then the residential structure never happens. So I asked if we could do this at the same time to know my commitment to invest and develop in El Dorado was true, if I could do it at the same time. The reason I want the building to go up at the beginning is because as I continue to build this, I need places to store construction materials until the business is open. It'd be preferable to do it off-site with not having to transport things in. I mean, things like plumbing fixtures, electrical fixtures, anything that I don't want to sit outside on the lot, prevent theft or, destruction of property. So if I can gain your approval tonight and then gain the approval from the city commission, I would immediately work on trying to get the building up as quickly as possible so it at least could serve as storage for the second half of construction for this initial building.
Are you going to put a fence around it for security?
There's
no fence across 5th Street.
There's no fence across 5th Street. There's a fence on that wall on 6th.
Yep.
And then there's a fence along the west boundary line currently. I did not intend to put a fence around this at this time. This won't have windows. It'll be a building with 2 overhead doors and a 36-inch entry door. And so I didn't fit, and there'll be security lighting around it, but I did not intend to fence it. Not at this time any. As we develop, then possibly a privacy fence or something, just to make it more aesthetic for residents, sitting out in the backyard or the park area. I mean, as we develop that, we hope kind of behind these 2 buildings, And if we brought any other structures in, we'd have a community park in the middle where all the residents can enjoy the outside and basically be in the middle of 5th and 6th Avenue where they had more natural surroundings, less traffic noise, things like that, so.
Mr. Rickard, I know the city is going to do an in-depth traffic study, which will include 6th Street. Do you see this being any sort of problem?
No.
Okay.
Well, quick reminder that we're in the middle of a public hearing, so let's, unless you have something further, let's continue to request, find out if we've got anybody from the public here to address this case tonight. Anyone else? Any takers in the back? All right. With that, we will close the public hearing then. Now, let's have some discussion.
I got to tell you, I am thrilled to death to see this project come to El Dorado. My mom's 85 years old. She's looking at assisted living. We have her. She lives in western Kansas. We have her on. There are lists of people waiting to get in. And so I think to be able to continue to support something like this is awesome sauce.
Yeah, this building only makes sense to me. I think it's a great idea. I'm for it.
And the reason, as he explained, why this couldn't go up first or why this wasn't permitted is we have to protect the underlying zoning. So the zoning is residential. That's what needs to happen there primarily. So we couldn't have a storage building go up without a building permit issue for a residential type structure.
Well, I'm encouraged that it's not a 20-foot sidewall or
It's
anything of
14
that
foot
degree,
sidewall.
so
Well, and like
that'll keep the scale
the
reasonable.
applicant mentioned too, right across the street, there's a whole slug of steel buildings that have been there for ages. It fits, visually, it fits right in the area anyway. It's not like we're shoving it in the middle of a lot on, all residential property or something like that.
Well, there's certainly residences all along the property line to the west, which would be the backyards to those residences typically. I'm trying to think
It's pretty,
across the street north.
that's, all those metal buildings, I think Grange owned there for a while. That was Terry Locke's electrical stuff.
Other thoughts, concerns? If there are none, I would entertain a motion.
I move to recommend approval of case number 23-01-SUP, a request by AGLN Development for a special use permit to allow a 2,400 square foot accessory structure on the property located at 522 West 5th Avenue for the reasons set forth in the staff recommendation and heard at this public hearing.
Okay.
I second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. I'm sorry?
I'll second it.
Okay, well, you thirding it, because it's been seconded, Gerald, but thank you.
Didn't hear it.
I appreciate your consistency. Mr. Rickard, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Pellers?
Yes.
Commissioner Fischetti?
Yes.
Commissioner Hackler?
Yes.
Commissioner Leeson?
Yes.
Commissioner, Chairman Stewart?
Yes.
Commissioner Long?
Yes.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. Any idea when this will?
Third Monday as well.
Third Monday,
Yep.
third Monday in March. Thank you. All right, item number 4 tonight, case number 23-02-SUP, public hearing for the consideration of a request for a special use permit for barber and beauty services at 2819 West 4th Avenue. Mr. Rickard, presentation of request.
Yes, Commission, before you tonight is a request from the property owner located in the blue bounded area on the map on the screen, is a special use permit to allow dog grooming services at their residential home. As you can see, the property is an R1 single-family residential. This is one that Mr. Shivers had worked on, so and the applicants may be able to describe it a little better, but I believe there was a request for a building to be constructed in the rear yard, and that's when staff became aware that, you know, to go down this SUP process, it's not, the city has not heard any complaints from any neighbors on this. It was more of them looking to make an improvement to the property, and that's when staff was made aware of the dog room. So we think it falls well within the Barber Beauty Services definition within our zoning regs. Applicants are here tonight, if you have any questions.
Okay. Well, I guess ahead of the public hearing, yes, let's hear from the applicants, if in fact you are the applicants. You appear responsive enough to be convincing. Hi.
Thank you so much for having me. Yes, we...
I'll need your name and address, please.
It's Sarah Rose at 2819 West 4th, and we have been doing dog grooming outside of or inside of our home in our garage. We had requested a special use permit so that we could put a prefabricated shed in our backyard so that we can kind of just expand our building, because we just haven't had enough area to do our dog grooming. We see about 3 to 4 dogs per day, 5 days a week from 10 to 5 a day. I'm retired Air Force, and so my husband works in the evenings, and so I primarily do that during the day. We haven't seen any issues with the traffic. We do by appointment only. We require that the dogs are updated on all their vaccinations, so we make sure that, you know, we don't have multiple dogs coming in and out of our residence. But that is basically kind of, we are just wanting to get approval to put a building in our back so that, yeah, it makes it more accommodating, especially just to get our dogs in and out and not having to go through our residence, so, or inside our house.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. We'll likely reserve the right to call you back up for questions.
I have a quick question for you.
Sure.
Is there a license required to be a dog groomer?
There is not. However, my husband has an animal science degree from Texas A&M. I had been a vet tech in college as well. We've actually been working out of our garage for about a year. We started out doing or grooming dogs, just our family members, our friends, and then we went to our neighbors, and we've really had really.
Sure. And my second question is,
Yes.
does your insurance company?
Absolutely, yes, yes. So, yes, our homeowners insurance covers this. We've made sure that we are covered by our insurance for any type of accidents, anything that happens, yeah, at our home. Okay?
We've also been working with Justin Parsons. He's been kind of a mentor for us.
Yes, we do.
Veterinarian on 16.
We do. We work with Justin Parsons. He makes sure, or he doesn't make sure, but we consult with him about the type of products that we're using to make sure, you know, we're doing what we're supposed to do, that we're not, you know, harming any animals. And anytime we have questions, we obviously consult with them when we need to. If we have any issues, we're able to go to him for anything. We have a really good working relationship with him. So, yeah.
Okay.
How big of a structure is it?
It's a 10 by 30, and we we've been approved for building permit to go in our backyard, which is supposed to be 8 foot from each of our fences on the east side and the south side. So,
And really, the building has no
Yeah.
kind of real bearing. They could go build a building today. It's more about, it's about
The use.
dog grooming.
Yes.
And with single-family zoning, there's certain occupations that you can do in home that are just allowed by right. Think of, I'm trying to think of a good example, like an architect. He's allowed to do that by right in his home. There's other certain occupations that require special use permits. So like this requires a special use permit. Things that may generate a little more traffic, that, you know, maybe the neighbors may have a concern with, that's what we're discussing tonight. Can they do dog grooming at this location?
Does the owner of the dog generally stay while you're grooming the dog, or do they park their car on the street where they're there?
no, sir. What they do is typically just drop their dog off. They'll pull into our driveway and then bring their dog in, and then we tell them, you know, your dog will take a couple hours, and then they go back home and then come back and pick up their dog.
Do they come through your front door?
They do, right now, yes. Yes.
Are there any breeds of dogs that you do not?
Yes, we
Groom.
don't take any vicious dogs, like pit bulls, we don't take chows. We do take large dogs like huskies and like Great Pyrenees, but right now, if the dog has had any issues with being vicious, we don't typically take those or any problems. And then if there are any problems, we immediately call the owner and say, you need to come and pick up your dog. 'Cause we
Yeah, my concern is pit bulls, Rottweilers, German Shepherds in the neighborhood with kids.
Yes.
They transport those dogs to your house if they would get loose and run.
Exactly,
But
yes.
they're,
Yes,
you
sir.
don't accept those dogs?
No, sir, no, sir,
Okay.
no.
What about Commissioners Hackler and Leeson with their beards?
What can you do about this?
Any restrictions on helping these guys out? No?
We could give
So
you a
I got
good trim, but it
a
looks
couple,
great. It looks great.
Questions.
Yes.
So is your model, your business model set up so that you're a one animal at a time setup?
Yes, by
Okay.
appointment only.
Do you think it sounds like a 10 by 30 building compared to a spot in the garage
Yes,
might be considered an expansion?
yes.
Do you feel like there'd be any point in the future that you would be in a situation where you would have dogs in queue waiting on site, where you'd have multiple dogs there, waiting their turn, I guess, to be groomed until their owners came back? Or is it always going to be a situation where it's one at a time? I'm just trying to visualize or think about future impact to noise, and if there's a small couple set of dog runs in the back waiting, these dogs are either waiting to get cut or they're already done waiting for the owners to come back, and they're out there barking and carrying on and disrupting the neighborhood.
I understand, yes. To answer your question, no, what our goal is will be primarily myself working. So our goal is just to have by appointment only. I will be the only dog groomer there. That's all I can handle right now.
Okay.
So, yeah, no dogs in queue, just one at a time. That's about all I can handle right now. I'm retired, so basically this is just putting a shed in the backyard where we have more space to do it.
Dedicated,
So,
yeah.
Yeah, we have to get the special use permit to be allowed to do that, so.
Okay.
that's-
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Any more questions? Good,
Not for now, thank you.
Appreciate it.
I have a question about, and this is probably in the book, and I apologize, I probably should have looked it up today. Do we have any requirements for signage? Can they put a sign up?
They cannot have a sign on their property.
That's with any
Any
service?
Any service in a residential area is to not show the outward appearance of there's a business.
That it's a business.
Right.
One sign, nothing,
Nothing.
no sign, okay.
Doc, does this permit allow them to board dogs?
No,
Okay.
no, grooming, I think, part of the concern Mr. Hackler brought up about, dog runs are our municipal code gets into killing of animals and how many can be on the property, and are they a nuisance, are they disrupting neighbors? So if something occurs of that nature, say a vicious dog gets out, or all of a sudden, next thing we know, there's 7 dog runs in the backyard waiting in queue to get the haircut, and the neighbors are upset, that's where our animal control officer would step in, and then they'd be in front of the municipal judge for municipal code issues.
So I like this, but I also agree with some of the things Commissioner Leeson was saying. Do we need to put a caveat on there? Because I'm good, 1 dog at a time, that's awesome. I would really not like, okay, now there's 2 dogs waiting, now there's 3 dogs waiting. Do we need to, can we add that caveat? Do we need to add that caveat? I believe the applicant, 1 dog at a time, but I would really like to just make sure for the neighborhood that it is that.
You as a board can recommend that any condition you see, you determine that needs to be part of a special use permit. So if you wanted to make a motion as such, I hereby approve this SUP, look at this address, with the added condition that it shall only be X.
And I like that, and I would really want that. I'm thinking if I lived there, next door, I moved in, I'm good, 1 dog at a time, but now, and that way, I know it's just gonna be 1 dog at a time, which if the applicants say that's what they want to do. So I don't think they would be opposed to that caveat.
There's gonna be some overlapping no matter what you do.
Sure.
Somebody's gonna come early.
Sure.
And I don't know that you could sit here this evening and find the perfect condition to cover any scenario that may happen.
Right.
But I think if you feel strongly as a group that you want to put a condition, that's just a broad condition on it, that maybe gives you comfort in making a decision, that's your prerogative.
I like Mr. Leeson's idea. I like the project. The applicants seem to be very willing to do that. So some broad thing like that.
And like they stated, they've been doing it for a year. We hadn't heard anything. There's been no complaints.
I might say our neighbors enjoy having us because we have a lot of people on our street bring their dogs. They just walk their dogs down to us, and we've had a lot of favorable comments saying, hey, we're glad you're in the neighborhood. So.
Okay. Well, before we get the cart before the proverbial dog here, let's actually open a public hearing. I'm presuming that there's no one here on behalf of the public to speak to this case, unless you'd like to come up and prop the tremendous comments that have already been made. So seeing no one, we will close the public hearing and open discussion by the Planning Commission.
Well, I feel like my concerns were met with her replies. It says something to me, twofold. One, that they have been doing this for approximately a year and no one has brought to anybody's attention any issues. And the second matter being a retired military, that holds a lot of weight for me. So I don't really feel like that for this particular case, I even need to consider entertaining special additions to the motion. They've been doing it for a year and no one said anything about anything. And it doesn't sound like she wants any more than what she's got on her plate already.
So to that response, I do agree with a lot of what you're saying, but we are allowing a special use permit for that address, not necessarily for these 2 people. We're allowing for that address, correct?
Let me think about that. No, it is for their specific use.
Yeah.
For those 2 individuals.
If they sold the property, or say they decided they were moving somewhere else and they're just gonna rent the house and someone else did this, it couldn't happen that way.
Let's say they have a family member that wants to come over and get into business. They can't do that either.
They need to reside at that residence
Okay, so they would
solely.
have to reside.
They couldn't, they need to, that's the primary purpose of that property is for them to live at. And to be the owner occupants that are granted the special use to do that.
Okay, that's a good connection.
So they couldn't move somewhere else and rent out a small space in this home, and then the applicant come in daily and do haircuts in a building behind. That couldn't occur.
Other questions, concerns? All right, hearing none, I would entertain a motion.
I move to recommend approval of case number 23-02 SUP, a request by Dana Rose for a special use permit to allow pet grooming on the property located at 2819 West 4th Avenue.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Rickard, roll call vote, please.
Yes. Chairman Stewart.
Yes.
Commissioner Watson.
Yes.
Commissioner Long.
Yes.
Commissioner Leeson.
Yes.
Commissioner Hackler.
Yes.
Commissioner Fischetti.
Yes.
Commissioner Feller.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. And I trust they will also get the attention of the city commission on the third Monday
Third Monday.
in March. Okay, thank you. Any old business tonight, Mr. Rickard?
There is none.
Okay. We haven't had any, we haven't had a meeting since what, October?
It's been quite a while.
So, no updates there regarding those cases, I don't think.
I do have one task I'd ask you all.
Good luck, guys. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Ask you guys to consider making a motion tonight, and that is to have a representative take part in the sales tax task force. And what that group is going to do is help the city council and the city shape what the next sales tax may look like, the vote. So the 1% sales tax in the city of El Dorado sunsets every 5 years. And so we're coming up on that time frame. It's going to sunset. And a task force has been always put together to help come up with ideas of how maybe the funds could be used. A lot of consideration is being thought of this go around. Do we not sunset it every 5 years? Do we let it go 10 years? Do we make it a permanent sales tax? So just a lot of discussion about that. And the member appointed from your guys' board would be part of those discussions. It would be more than typically involved. Some of you may have served in capacity on a sales tax committee in the past to help select projects for parks or rank things for the city commission. That would still have a component of that, but the other side will help develop what that ballot question may look like to redo the city's 1% sales tax.
What are the other groups that are represented on this task force?
The commission is still working on that. They are wanting to keep the number relatively low, 10 or so members.
So this is going to be in addition to, in addition to the task force or tax advisory committee you have now, in addition to it, or
You're going to serve in both capacities.
I'm sorry?
You're going to serve in both capacities.
Okay, and who's going to chair this?
I don't know yet. The commission hasn't made that decision. So thought it prudent to go ahead and get one of you all's names that'd be willing to consider that. If you want to take a little more time, feel comfortable, or I'm fine with that as well.
Sure, and this is also related to the survey that was available to all the citizens that was online. City of El Dorado that actually closed today at 5 o'clock.
Yeah, you might have seen that. Just asking questions like, one of the questions is like, hey, would you support a special sales tax for a new pool? Or, what's more important to you, public safety, streets, rank them.
What
Well, I
kind of
guess I would-
response, what kind of response, excuse me,
You're fine, go ahead.
what kind of response did you get for that?
I do not know that, Commissioner.
So at the last city commission meeting, when that question was asked, the number was given at 126, but that was several days ago.
I actually think I was on the last one.
I think you were too. Yep, yep.
You mean 5 years ago?
Yep.
Yeah. And I think our most recent representative to the excess sales tax committee was Commissioner Fellers. Is that correct? Okay. Commissioner Watson, I think you've served in this capacity
One time.
before as well.
I'm not interested in.
Okay.
And I'm serving on another city committee now that I'm very interested in, so I would be glad to pass that torch.
Unless there's someone else that wants to do it. I found it interesting last time.
Okay.
Brad, you
Anybody?
got any interest?
I might have a conflict of interest. Do you think I would, Scott?
No. I mean, you're one of a group that would be advocating for something. And so it's really your comfort level. I mean, I think that is the smallest part of this, what's going to be involved in this. The biggest component is going to help draft that language that the citizens are going to vote on, and then to help promote it.
Commissioner Long, I'm curious, are you willing to tell us what that is you're involved with?
Well, I am involved with the Baseball Hall of Fame, and we are looking at expansion and trying to find the funds to do that. And right now, we've got drawings done, an architectural drawing done, and we are in the process of raising funds, and so that I probably shouldn't serve this time. But, I mean, I would like to see the funds used at the ballpark.
Again, you're making recommendations, and as long as you all are aware, you may recommend something as a task force. We're talking on project side of things, and then when it gets to the city commission, things change. So,
Commissioner Leeson, your interest level?
Yeah, like I say, I've done it once before. I have no objection to doing it again unless somebody else wants to.
Mr. Hackler, your interest level? I'm just,
Well, if need be, I would probably do it. I just have a lot on my plate. So if the other Scott is interested, I have no problem in succeeding my opportunity to him. I just have an awful lot on my plate right now.
Mr. Stewart, I'm just curious.
Oh, this chairman's a hard no. Commissioner Machete.
That was quick.
I'm serving on another committee right now. I feel like I spread a little too thin for that.
Okay. Well, with that, I would move to nominate Planning Commissioner Scott Leeson as representative from the Planning Commission to the Excess Sales Tax Committee / Sales Tax Task Force.
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Any other items, Mr. Rickard?
no, I mean, the one thing I will mention, we anticipate here shortly we'll start advertising for the next city planner. So be on the look for that. If you have any questions or anything, feel free to reach out to me. I'll be heavily involved in this. I'm sure there'll be, if and when we find a candidate, there'll be a pretty significant transition time. There's a lot involved in trying to understand our rules and regulations, so.
Okay. And typically in the springtime, maybe not till April, we typically look at and determine officers, I believe, on this board as well. So
Yep.
be thinking through that and be prepared for that in the months to come.
And we will, one more thing is, we'll need someone to sit on the BZA. I think that term is up. I can't remember which one of you all is doing that.
What's that?
The Board of Zoning Appeals.
That's me.
Well, your term is almost up.
Oh, no. I think we met twice, and I was told we wouldn't meet at all, but we met twice, but it's pretty minimal. It's a 30-minute meeting, and it's not a problem. It's not bad.
What would be nice with that one, would be to get our out-of-town representatives. There is a requirement that we have out-of-town representatives, so our out-of-town representative who's interested in that.
What do you keep looking at me for? Because Frank's not here?
Yeah, because Frank's not here. Okay. Well, if there's nothing further, I would move we adjourn.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second, and a third, and a fourth, and an aye.
Aye, aye.
All those opposed can stick around as long as they want, I guess. We're adjourned. Thank you.